Hi guys, going to talk to you today about a few of my winter trouting essentials. In front of me I've got a selection of things that would be really useful for you this coming winter. I'm just going to run you through them as we go. So first of all, one of the things I always have in my car, and I know it's normally more associated with sort of tropical fishing, but I always have a buff. So any kind of buff or neck gaiter just means you can pop that around your neck. It just helps to keep you warm. Equally, if it's windy, quite often I'll put it up around my face just to stop a bit of wind burn. So a really useful thing to have. As I say, normally associated with the sort of flats, but it's something that I always use in the winter in the UK just to keep that little bit of warmth around my neck. You know, trying to keep warm is really important, and with keeping warm in mind, obviously what you wear on your head is really important. Now there's lots of different hats out in the market. This time of year I tend to put my standard baseball cap away, and I'll bring out one of my more warmer, more insulated type of hats. So there's various different ones. If you like a peak cap, then there's this one here. This is the Sims insulated one. It's a Gore-Tex cap. It also has a little brim that pops down around the back as well, just to give you a bit of warmth around the back of the neck, which together with one of the buffs really means that you're going to stay really, really warm. I tend to use one of the more traditional kind of woolen beanie type hats, just to keep that warmth in on my head. There's nothing worse than getting cold and uncomfortable, and you lose so much heat through your head, so it's really worth getting yourself a nice warm hat. This time of year it's a great time, particularly on the big reservoirs. We've had a particularly good year this year for the fry. They've spawned a lot of fry. Great pattern is this one here. It's called a suspender minky. It's a really versatile pattern, so when fish are crashing into the fry and they're leaving some of the stunned ones floating around on the surface, this is a great pattern for that. So you can fish this just on the surface and give it a little twitch. Because it's got the bit of foam on the front, it'll sit in the water like this, like a stunned perch or a stunned roach fry, and you can just give that little tweaks and it's enticing for the fish. If you want to, you can also fish it on a fast sinking fly line as well, so you get your line right down to the bottom, and with a relatively short leader, that'll sit up like this with the pop being popped up by the foam, and you can just give that a little tweak and that'll just move enticingly in the water. So a really good fly through the winter. One of the things particularly here at the fishery, at the Game Fishing Centre, is in the winter the water is at its clearest, and with that in mind I always make sure that I use fluorocarbon if I'm fishing anything below the surface. There's a couple of my favourite ones here in front of me. So I've got the Seagull Grand Max and I've got the Rio Fluoroflex Strong. Two pure fluorocarbons, and one of the beauties of fluorocarbons is the fact that not only are they really, really thin in their diameter for their breaking strain, so you can get away with using a much higher breaking strain in a leader, and particularly when you're fishing with catch and release, it's good to have plenty of breaking strain so you can get the fish in as quickly as possible. Other benefits of this: it's denser than water, so it naturally sinks, and also its refractive index is pretty much identical to water, so the fish can't see it anyway. So in the winter, if I'm doing anything subsurface, I'm always using fluorocarbon. Great material. There's plenty on the market, but those are two of my favourites. When it comes to fly lines as well, one line that I probably use for the vast majority of my winter fishing, particularly here, is I use this line here. This is the Camelux Intermediate from Rio. Sinks at about 1.5 to 2 inches per second, so a really versatile fly line. You can fish it very, very slowly and it'll continue to sink down. You can fish it at a steady rate and you'll keep it on the level, or if you fish it fast, obviously you'll pull it up through the water. You can let it sink as long or as short a time as you'd like, so you can work all the different depths through the water. Here in particular, the fish don't tend to go particularly deep. Even in the depths of winter or the height of summer, they tend to be fairly up in the water, top sort of 3 to 4 feet. And this line's a really useful line for keeping it in that sort of fishing zone. And sticking with the idea of keeping warm, next to me I've got a selection of Yeti drinkware. Now I originally bought one of these for my wife, and I was that impressed with it I bought one for myself. Really good at keeping your drinks warm for a long period of time. I can be out fishing, make myself a cup of tea and fill this up at sort of 7:30 in the morning, and even by lunchtime it's still piping hot. Really useful pieces. Come in a various different sizes, whether you like a big drink like this, which is the one I've got, or a slightly smaller one, maybe for an espresso coffee, or the big mug with a handle as well. Great thing about these as well, dishwasher safe, and you've got a little sliding cap on the top there, and when it comes to cleaning, that will actually pop off because it's got a magnet on it as well. So a really clever design feature, means keeping it clean and hygienic is very easy. And these are just a selection of a few of the things that I have with me in the winter, and hopefully you'll have a really good winter season and get some use out of some of these products.